Welcome back to Sunrise. Well, just to bring this information, as you see scrolling at the bottom of the screen there, a fire raised a major market in Yola, Adamawa State. You understand the fire started at about 3 a.m. today. No life is lost in that unfortunate incident, but the fire service are at the moment battling to put that fire out. Well, moving on now to focusing on the economy. We're joined by Mr. Dele, Joda, who is an investment and financial consultant. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, we hear it year in, year out from different governments, how they want to attract foreign direct investment. Yeah. But as it is today, from several policies and how the economy is today, let's get first of all your impression of those policies before you tell us how it will impact on those who are looking to come and invest here.
Yeah, thank you. I would rather that we actually look at the economy as a whole before we begin to break it down into subsets of foreign direct investments and maybe how we can grow local investments as well. And given the situation the country is found itself in, whereby we are grappling with drilling oil reserves and revenue reserves, is indeed a tough call to try to grow foreign direct investment at this point in time. But that's not to say it's not feasible or impossible to do. And for me, I think what we should be more concerned with at this point in time is looking inwards, how we can endogenously grow the economy. For too long, we have focused attention on oil revenue as a mainstay of the economy and all that, but now the chicken has come home to roost sooner, much later than or sooner than we expect. And given where we are today, I think if we look at the appropriation bill that Mr. President has presented to the National Assembly, I believe the foundation is being laid towards reflecting the economy. And from the 6.08 trillion budget that we have, over 30% of that is devoted to capital expenditure, which is an area where we might be looking towards foreign direct investment, apart from other sources of funding that aspect of the national budget. So I think devoting about 30% of the total capital budget, total revenue projections or national budget to capital expenditure is a right step in the right direction. From there, I believe things can begin to move on.
But what kind of chance do you think the non-oil sector has to perhaps provide that alternative source to diversify our economy?
Yeah, with benefit of hindsight, even though that should not be, it should be a no-brainer, really. If we had been dealing with oil revenue in the excess of $100 per barrel for several years, time passed, and we, so to say, wasted all that opportunity. Now we are down to under $40 per barrel. That has brought a lot of constraints on the revenue side of our national life. And to that extent, I think if we begin to look at diversifying the economy into non-oil sectors, because globally, the major measure of economic growth is the GDP. You look at the GDP as a dependent variable, whereby you look at other components of the GDP, that is the sectoral allocations and contributions to the GDP. Which areas can we focus on? Manufacturing, we have relegated to the background for over a long time here.
Do you think it can be revamped?
It can be. In fact, that's my major take.
Are there indications of that in this budget?
You see, even before the budget was presented, last year, the CBN governor, came up with a list of 41 items that were banned. Mm-hmm. The idea behind that is to begin to look at development areas where we can substitute what we have been importing.
Are we succeeding after banning those products?
Frankly speaking, I don't want to say it's too early in the day to begin to say whether we are succeeding or not, because there is what you call information aspect of any, how does the populace react to a new policy or a new direction. When that policy came out sometime in October, November last year, my take was that I think for once we're beginning to look at where we should be going.
You know,
but then there was a caveat that giving Nigerians propensity for imported items, I will be shocked if we still don't have this. I mean,
absolutely. That's where I was coming to. When you talk about reactions of Nigerians, it could go either way, negative or positive. And for us to get that positive reaction, the government needs to do something very quickly. When we say it's too early in the day, you have put a ban or, you know, this kind of restriction on some of those things that a lot of Nigerians would love to have. And if you know that you have to fund this particular budget and you're looking towards a non-oil sector, then you have to really move quickly. That's why Mark is also asking if you thought that the manufacturing, which you also mentioned, can take us to that level. What other areas do you think that we can get into that will be giving us some kind of quick results so that the reaction of the people doesn't become negative?
That's why I talked about the independent variables of the GDP component of the GDP as a measure of economic growth. If you break down the sectoral contributions to GDP, there are a number of areas which we have not been focusing on. You'll be surprised. Household credit. And that brings me to the issue of, we talked about excess liquidity in the system. I used to be a banker. And I think the time is now ripe for banks to begin to look at how they can begin to stimulate consumer spending through giving household credit.
Tell us more about household credit.
Household credit is a situation whereby financial institutions give, credit lines. Like you have your credit card.
They started trying to do that. I have noticed that, bankers will call you and ask you tell you that you're eligible to have a credit card with us. Do you want one? And then, because our culture, because some people will say we also need to have a cultural shift on that. It would seem that our culture has been, you spend what it is that you earn. People usually do not take credit and say, okay, I will do it in future. I don't know. Do you think it's cultural?
Before you add this to it, because that was why I asked what you meant by household credit. If they hold on a minute, because if they called you and they told you that this is what they have for you, and you haven't actually used it, and you realize that monthly some amount of money is being deducted as some kind of fee for that credit card.
No, I think that's where we may have
I just cancelled mine. I got news.
So
I just cancelled mine.
You cancelled before you accepted?
No, I accepted and I cancelled. I never got to use it. And the amount that was being deducted was crazy. You understand? So when you say household credit, what form of credit are you talking about? Same with Malpays or a different kind of credit?
No, it's the same thing. Credit card, which you can use for your day-to-day. You see, the U.S. economy and Canadian economy to a large extent are being funded. The growth is being funded largely by consumer spending. And consumer spending, because they have household credit, a lot of people go out, they make their purchases using credit cards.